Okay.
A lot of people, they get confused when we start talking about this church idea that we're talking about. They're like, oh, it sounds like a cult. You guys are a bunch of cultists. I'm like, no. If you know what a cult is, it's more about one central figure, and they're the ones in charge. It's all about a hierarchy and all this other stuff. What we're doing is we're trying to decultify religion. We're doing the opposite. We're bringing it back to the individual. So we're the opposite of a cult.
It's like God. If you are never exposed to these teachings, will humans still create God for themselves? It's a really great question. It's a great question. What do you guys think? 100%. What do you guys think about that? If humans are never exposed, or sorry, if you never expose these teachings to humans, would humans still create God? It's a great question. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we all have idols.
I've looked into this a lot, and then there's a lot of history about, I talked about Halloween. It's supposedly from comet impacts and stuff like that. So it's about looking up into the sky is the whole idea why we have an idea of worshiping God. And people claim without that, we probably would never have it. So it's a great question. Derek?
I think so because we all have idols. It might not be God. It might not be Jesus. Or, whatever for you, it might be the television or, whatever that you enjoy. You're going to kind of.
I spoke about how I look up to people. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we choose people to look up to. And I think that's the benefit of life is that we can choose people to look up to, and we should.
One of the original gods was Mithra, sun god. Yeah.
For who?
Right. The sun. They worship the sun. It was like one of the original gods, Mithra.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I see.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah, I was just saying basically, we have different strengths. Like, I'm not the biggest, toughest guy in the world, but one of my friends might be, but I might be able to do things they can't do. It's like, duh, that's why human beings work better as social creatures. Because there's different perspectives and stuff that you can learn from people, and that's what we're trying to, share with you guys. It's natural to conceive such because it's a spiritual feeling, not an emotion.
Seems like the more I learn, the more I believe. The more I learn about the knowable universe, the more I believe in something bigger than myself and something bigger than all of us, and
100%
bigger than the biblical God than what we grew up, being taught.
Right. That's the comment I was about to make. I saw this quote today that said that some people worship a God that they don't know exists, but they will harm nature that they know exists. But little do they know that is the God that they know. That's kind of the whole thing is that I believe if we didn't have this idea of what God and spirituality is, it would be combined together and it'd be one of the same. But because this is why religion is so divisive. This is why this channel is going to be really bittersweet for somebody to swallow, because we're not dividing people. We're trying to bring them together, and that's going to rub people the wrong way. I could see people creating other humans as gods without a spiritual type of teaching. Exactly right. It would just be life. It's what it should be, and it's what it probably used to be. And actually, this is a great thing because I was hoping I could be able to bring this up.
A lot of the Greek stuff, I think they're all gladiators and such.
Yes, and this is a lot of what our teachings are based off of, is these principles right here from long, long ago that proves that Christianity was built on nature in these sacraments like psychedelic mushrooms. These are just a huge bunch of examples of these drawings of people holding psilocybin mushrooms and using them in their sacraments all the way from 470 to 460 BCE. Or this is from 8,000
I want to point something
BCE.
out about that one from Greece.
Okay, I can get back.
There's a book at Five Below right now. That's it's a really, really small book. It's like fabric bound, and it's got like gold trim around the edge of the paper, kind of like a Bible, but it's got a bunch of Greek stories in it. And I was flipping through it, and I saw that story. It's the story of Demeter and her daughter Persephone and the poppies.
100%.
But we know it's not poppies; it's actually mushrooms. But poppies are also an entheogen. But it's in that storybook, and it's only $5 at Five Below right now.
Yep. But yeah, to your point, this is what spirituality was. It wasn't spiritual, and you had to go to religion. You didn't have to go to church to practice religion. Your life was religion. Your life was church. Everything around you was just practicing your spirituality and getting closer to God, and using nature to get there. and using sacraments and stuff like that to get there, I think is a really beautiful way. I know of the Great Father, which to some is God, earth, water. Yeah, so exactly right. Yeah, and just what Nerdy was saying, and these things are not an original idea, right? It's like these things have been since Greek and Roman times, where people have, had a God for nature and God for the water and a God for the sun.
I had a funny idea about what we were doing today when I was driving to pick my daughter up from school.
Okay.
A lot of people, they get confused when we start talking about this church idea that we're talking about. They're like, oh, it sounds like a cult. You guys are a bunch of cultists. I'm like, no, if you know what a cult is, it's more about one central figure and they're the ones in charge. It's all about a hierarchy and all this other stuff. What we're doing is we're trying to decultify religion. We're doing the opposite. We're bringing it back to the individual. So we're the opposite of a cult. Most Christian religions are very, very culty. Look at Catholics. Look at Mormons. I grew up Mormon, and it's very culty. But
I don't think it's
normalized.
I agree with your point, but I don't think it's fair just to pick out Christians because it's every religion. It's just the same way with every form of politics. And 100%. And I understand that because it's the same way with me too. And that's the example that I would have used. But it's just like with every form of government, everything that exists, man, there will be corruption if, like you said, one person is placed in the hierarchy and then people below them do things. But if we're all here together speaking about it and not just talking to you guys, we're here talking with you. That's why we're trying to get you guys to come on. That's really the important thing. We want to try to be like, we don't want to be preaching at you because we're not preachers. We're not teachers. We're students in the classroom with you guys. There's things that you guys can teach us that we're not going to be able to learn from teaching you in this show, Yeah.
The person we all know of that had the biggest problem with organized religion was Jesus Christ.
100%. Because you're right about this.
You know the story. I mean, they used the scripture to crucify him. So he had the biggest problem with organized religion. So, I understand that where people say, I don't like organized religion. Well, neither did he, but he paid the price. So.
Yes, I've heard this actually. But really, it's not about people because imagine a world where every human being could get along, regardless of what they believed in. Because you're starting to put yourself in these groups. Like I talked about this on our last show. Like you want to be a left wing or right wing, but your ideologies are probably not left or right. They probably have more of a spectrum of a rainbow than just blue and red. You know what I mean? And that's when people get stuck into these left and rights in the game of tug of war. It's divisiveness. And we need to kind of get rid of this dogma, the stigma attached to these things. And people, if it's not going to be for them, it's not going to be for them. But as long as you're practicing the 4/5 agreements, that's really all we ask of people is to be kind and respectful, be impeccable, not take things personally, not make assumptions, and just do your best. It's really not hard to ask. And that's going to better your life. And you'll start to see it in the community of people around you. I'm not the same guy I was just in a year since I've known about this and started changing my life with it. I was already on a great path. And this is sped it up so much. We talked about this in the last year. Sped it up way faster than it could have ever been. Without trying to put a timeline on it. It's just
a lot of Christians and Baptists and stuff, they use the term born again, but they were speaking just for Christianity or whatever. But I think that happens to a lot of people, we grow and we change. Like you're saying, you're not the same person. So you'd almost say you're born again, you're not who you were.
100%.
I
think we're a million different people from one day to the next.
Yeah.
You're
just
always
not
changing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm a different person in every situation. I talk about this a lot. This is why doing my best is always important because I'm putting on a show for you guys right now. And a lot of people are like, I'm not putting on a show. But if you walked up and smacked me, I'd be mad. I'd be a totally different person. It would flip a switch in my head that I'm still trying to work on. And I think we're all like that. Certain things will rub us the wrong way. I don't like talking about this subject, or I don't want to talk about these things. And it's your mind that needs to change. You have to be the change. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you want to walk around with a negative attitude and fight with 90% of the earth because you don't agree with what they say or that's on you, dude. You're taking it personally. You're making assumptions and having expectations, and you're breaking the 4 agreements because you're not being impeccable because you're not taking things personally, or you are taking things personally rather, and you're making assumptions. You see what I'm saying?